Picture Europe in 1914. It was a continent on the brink of monumental change, a place where old empires and new ambitions were colliding. The map of Europe was a complex puzzle of nations, each with its own agenda and fears. The political landscape was a delicate balance, teetering on the edge of chaos. Fancy cities, but lots of tension underneath. The streets were alive with the hustle and bustle of daily life, yet beneath the surface there was a simmering unease. People went about their business, but the air was thick with the sense that something big was about to happen. The cities were vibrant, but they were also powder kegs waiting to explode. It was a time of great elegance, but everyone was nervous. High society events were filled with people in sophisticated clothing, enjoying the finer things in life. Yet, even in these glamorous settings, there was an undercurrent of anxiety. The elegance of the era masked the growing tensions that were about to boil over. The big, powerful countries in Europe were all worried about each other. Military parades showcased the might of nations, but they also highlighted the fear and suspicion that permeated diplomatic meetings. Leaders were constantly on edge, aware that any misstep could lead to conflict. The alliances and rivalries were a tangled web, making the situation even more precarious. They all had their own problems and big dreams, and they didn't trust anyone. Political cartoons of the time often depicted the leaders as distrustful and scheming, each one looking out for their own interests. The monarchs and politicians were playing a dangerous game, one that could easily spiral out of control. Their ambitions and insecurities were a volatile mix. Nationalism, a strong feeling of pride in one's country, was spreading throughout Europe, especially in the Balkans, a place with lots of different ethnic groups. This surge of nationalism was both a unifying and divisive force. In the Balkans, it led to a rise in ethnic tensions, as various groups sought to assert their independence and identity. The region was a hotbed of unrest, with nationalist fervour fueling the flames. The Ottoman Empire, once very powerful, was getting weaker, which made southeastern Europe unstable. The decline of this once mighty empire created a power vacuum, leading to instability and conflict. Southeastern Europe was a region in flux, with various factions vying for control. The weakening of the Ottoman Empire added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. A new, strong Germany wanted to become more important. Under the leadership of Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany was rapidly industrializing and building up its military. The nation was eager to assert its power and influence on the world stage. This ambition made other countries nervous, adding to the overall tension in Europe. Germany's rise was seen as a threat by many, further destabilizing the region. Everything was ready for a big disaster. It just needed one small thing to start it. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo was the spark that ignited the powder keg. This single event set off a chain reaction, leading to the outbreak of World War I. The tensions that had been building for years finally erupted, plunging Europe into one of the deadliest conflicts in history. Europe had a complicated system of alliances, like teams. These alliances were formed over decades, with countries seeking to protect themselves from potential threats. The idea was that if one country was attacked, its allies would come to its defense, creating a balance of power that would deter any single nation from starting a conflict. These teams were supposed to prevent war, but they actually made things worse. Instead of creating a stable peace, the alliances created a web of obligations and expectations. When tensions rose, countries felt compelled to support their allies, even if they had no direct stake in the conflict. This interconnectedness meant that a small dispute could quickly escalate into a full-blown war. If two countries fought, everyone else would join in. The alliances turned local conflicts into global ones. For example, if a minor skirmish broke out between two nations, their allies would be drawn in, and soon the entire continent could be at war. This was a recipe for disaster, as it meant that any conflict had the potential to spiral out of control. There were two main teams: the Triple Entente, France, Russia and Great Britain, and the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, Hungary and Italy. These alliances were not just military agreements, but also political and economic partnerships. They were designed to strengthen the bonds between the member countries and present a united front against any potential aggressors. Each team had military plans and didn't trust the other team. The lack of trust led to an arms race, with each side building up its military forces in preparation for a possible conflict. This build-up of arms only increased the tension and made war more likely, as each side was ready to strike at the first sign of aggression from the other. France wanted to stop Germany from getting bigger. After the Franco-Prussian War, France was determined to prevent Germany from becoming the dominant power in Europe. This desire for revenge and security drove France to seek strong alliances with other countries that shared its concerns about German expansion. Russia wanted to stop Austria-Hungary's influence. The Russian Empire was concerned about the growing power of Austria-Hungary in the Balkans, a region where Russia had its own interests. By aligning with France and Great Britain, Russia hoped to counterbalance Austria-Hungary's ambitions and protect its own strategic interests. Great Britain joined to keep things balanced. The British Empire, with its vast global interests, sought to maintain the balance of power in Europe. By joining the Triple Entente, Britain aimed to prevent any single country from becoming too powerful and threatening its own security and influence. The Triple Alliance, first made to isolate France, helped Germany grow stronger under Kaiser Wilhelm II. Germany's leadership saw the alliance as a way to secure its position in Europe and pursue its ambitions. Under Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany's military and industrial power grew, making it a formidable force on the continent. Austria-Hungary joined for protection, but Italy wasn't really sure about it. Austria-Hungary, facing internal and external threats, saw the alliance as a way to safeguard its interests. Italy, on the other hand, had its own ambitions and was not fully committed to the alliance, leading to uncertainty and mistrust within the Triple Alliance. These alliances, meant to stop war, made sure a small fight could become a huge war. The intricate web of alliances turned Europe into a powder keg, where any spark could ignite a massive conflict. The very system designed to maintain peace ultimately set the stage for one of the deadliest wars in human history. The Balkans, a mix of different people and religions, was like a bomb waiting to explode. When the Ottoman Empire got weaker, the powerful European countries tried to take control. Nationalism, or strong pride in one's country, grew in the Balkans, creating new countries like Serbia, Greece, and Bulgaria. Serbia wanted to unite all the Slavic people, which made Austria-Hungary angry. When a Serbian nationalist killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austria-Hungary throne, in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, it was the spark that started the war. The assassination was the result of years of problems. It was bound to happen because of how things were set up. On a sunny morning in Sarajevo, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie arrived for a visit. The visit was supposed to show how strong Austria-Hungary was, but it showed how weak it really was. Serbian nationalists wanted to kill the Archduke. 6 assassins waited for him. The first try failed, but the Archduke's driver made a wrong turn and the car stopped right in front of Gavrilo Princip, one of the assassins. Princip shot the Archduke and his wife, killing them both. This shocked Europe and started the events that led to World War I. From a crisis to a catastrophe, the July Crisis. This pivotal moment in history set the stage for one of the deadliest conflicts the world had ever seen. The events that unfolded in July 1914 were a complex web of political maneuvers, alliances, and miscalculations that ultimately led to the outbreak of World War I. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, on June 28, 1914 in Sarajevo, was the spark that ignited the July Crisis. This event caused a huge problem in Europe, shaking the delicate balance of power and setting off a chain reaction among the major powers. Austria-Hungary, seeking to assert its dominance and punish Serbia for the assassination, saw this as a perfect reason to start a war. The Austro-Hungarian government, backed by its military officials, began to mobilize its forces and prepare for conflict. Germany, Austria-Hungary's ally, agreed with this aggressive stance. Kaiser Wilhelm II and his officials provided Austria-Hungary with a blank check assurance of support. Consequently, Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum to Serbia, presenting a list of demands that were nearly impossible to fully accept. Serbia, under immense pressure, agreed to most of the demands but could not comply with all of them. The partial acceptance was not enough to satisfy Austria-Hungary, which was determined to take a hardline approach. As a result, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. This declaration marked the beginning of a series of military mobilizations and declarations of war that would engulf Europe in conflict. The intricate system of alliances in place at the time meant that other countries were quickly drawn into the conflict. Germany, Russia, France, and Great Britain were all bound by treaties and agreements that compelled them to support their allies. Russia, allied with Serbia, began mobilizing its army in response to Austria-Hungary's actions. This move prompted Germany to declare war on Russia on August 1, 1914. Shortly thereafter, Germany also declared war on Russia's ally, France. Great Britain, committed to protecting Belgium's neutrality, found itself drawn into the conflict when Germany invaded Belgium. On August 4, 1914, Britain declared war on Germany, further escalating the situation. In just 1 week, Europe was at war. The July crisis had transformed from a regional dispute into a full-scale global conflict, setting the stage for the horrors of World War I. Adding fuel to the fire, underlying tensions. The assassination was the spark, but there were other problems. Countries were building up their armies and weapons. Military leaders thought attacking first was the best plan. Countries also wanted to control other countries for their resources, which caused more tension. Germany and Great Britain were competing with each other in business. Germany was growing quickly, and Great Britain was worried about losing its power. All of this made war almost certain. A world at war global conflict. The war in Europe in August 1914 changed everything. The Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, fought against the Allied powers, France, Russia, Great Britain, and later the United States. The war became a stalemate, with soldiers fighting in trenches and many people dying. Battles like the Marne, Verdun, and the Somme were very bloody. The war spread to the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Soldiers from Africa, India, and Southeast Asia fought in a war far from home. The devastation, impact, and consequences. World War I was terrible. Empires ended and the map of Europe changed. About 16 million people died and many more were hurt. Countries used all their resources for the war, changing everything. Many women went to work because the men were fighting. Governments controlled everything, telling people what they could buy, what they could read, and what they could say. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires collapsed and new countries were formed. The Treaty of Versailles punished Germany harshly, which caused problems later. The war made people sad and less hopeful. A legacy of war shaping the 20th century. World War I changed the 1900s. It led to World War II because the Treaty of Versailles made Germany angry, which helped fascism grow. The war also led to changes in society. People wanted to be treated fairly. Women who helped during the war gained more rights. There were also new discoveries in technology, medicine, and science. World War I changed the world forever, and we still see its effects today.